picture your mask?
Come over here.
Girl, no, just
You like it? Okay, everybody. I think we are about ready. I see you. Okay, so everybody, this is your girl Michelle with Girlz Talk, Real Talk, because when girls talk, just about anything can happen. So we have our guests on the show today, and I'm really excited because this is our first show for April, and it's also, somebody's got feedback going on. So I think it was me, so excuse that. So what I'm doing today is we're doing our very first live for the podcast. So in 2020, we kicked off the podcast as a standalone, not my radio show, which I had previously been doing, but now we're on a standalone podcast. So this is my very first live. So it is actually going live on my YouTube channel, Girlz Talk, Real Talk. And I am so excited about this because God had put it on my heart to do some things. And me and Marsha had kind of been talking about it for a while of what this was going to look like when I left the radio station. And it seemed like you, Jen, what we were talking about before, every time you got ready to start doing something, something else jumped off. Oh, yeah. Something else happened that kind of kept me from moving forward as quick as I wanted to. Mm-hmm. But then God showed me that he slowed down my process because he was getting some things in order. Yeah. And a lot of times we think that when we receive that slow down message or that no for right now, that's a denial. That's just a delay. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that he's denying us from what it is that we're going to be doing. He's just delaying us a little bit. And so I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking about. So this is just Girls Talk. We don't specifically have a topic. It's just girls talking, enjoying each other, having some conversation. And so what I do want to do is I want to give each one of you an opportunity to introduce yourself to our audience and to share with our audience some of the things that you are involved in. So I'm going to start off with Marsha. So Marsha, why don't you introduce yourself to our podcast audience?
Hi, audience. My name is Marsha. It's M-A-R-C-I-A. I'm a self-employed person. I bake, I clean. Should I get my names out, Michelle?
Yes, please, because I love the name.
I have Marsha Made It Desserts and Things. I prepare desserts, no custom cakes, but I cook like your grandma and your great grandma. Okay, that's my style of cooking. Cakes are from scratch. I can do anything you want. I prepare meals. I also have Marsha Made It Clean. I have a cleaning business, so hey, hit me up. I also do Mary Kay and I do TLC, Total Life Changes.
So, and when I tell you, I have to jump in here as Marsha's introducing herself because Marsha makes this lemon cake. Let me clarify that. She makes a lemon cake and then she makes a lemon pound cake.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So the lemon cake I have renamed.
Okay.
I have renamed it as the lemon orgasm.
Oh, now you know I like that. You know I like that right there.
And I tell you, that lemon cake will take you places you never thought you would go. Your taste buds will be on a journey.
Well,
I'm here to tell you.
Guess I'm gonna have to get me one of those lemon cakes.
Yes, ma'am.
Hit me up.
And she makes other cakes as well. And she makes her homemade turtles.
Mm.
Oh wow, that sounds real good.
Oh yeah.
I do caramel popcorn. I do candied and caramel apples. I do a little bit of everything. Right now, I'm sewing masks. So
that's a good idea. I'm gonna need one of those.
I got to get one too because my daughter is already on my case.
I know.
Yeah.
She's on my case. Yeah, she's not quite as paranoid as I've seen some, but she has her moments. She has her moments. So Jen Ray, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Well, hey y'all, it's Jen Ray. I have not been in a camera or anything in a while, y'all. And it feels kind of good. I don't know, like I lost my thing, but this feels really good. You know, it's where I know that I'm supposed to be. So I don't know if you don't know me currently. Let me tell you about my current, and then what will come back eventually. How about that?
Yes.
So currently, I'm a working mom. Oh my gosh, and a wife. Wow. So I hadn't been back to work in about 4 years, and so just in the past 6 months, I don't know, God put some opportunities in front of me, and I took one and went back to work full time. So I'm still making that adjustment, but I love it. And it's almost like God knew it was coming right now. Mm-hmm. And so gave me a job that was going to be really, really steady and really, really certain. So just doing the whole working mom wife deal, getting back in the flow of that. But otherwise, you guys know, speaker, author, coach. So that'll come back. I just was talking to someone about my book, Worshipers Make Better Lovers. And so I was talking to somebody about that just a couple weeks ago. And it just, those things, that stuff just started to churn on the inside of me again. So I'm excited for the time that God will release me to really go back out there and do that full force. And I believe that even today, just kind of coming back and being on a camera and having some girl talk, I believe that this is the start of that thing. So I'm excited and glad to be here.
I'm glad that you're here. So last but not least, we're going to have Salome G introduce herself.
Oh, well, hello, everybody. I'm your girl, Salome G. That's my tagline. I am also an author. I authored Exodus back in 2017. My book was published, self-published. Also, I'm a hairstylist, longtime hairstylist. I do a lot of other things, but right now my focus mainly, I've been focusing on the Tuesday night Transparent Moments with Salome G, really with a single focus, if you will. And also, I am kind of in the throes of a new book, writing from I would say a graduated perspective, as far as being single in the 40s and all the lessons and things to go with that in my Christian walk. So just a whole lot of busy.
Trust me, I understand. I first met Jen where at the book signing.
Yeah.
Your book signing.
Yeah.
But we actually met prior to the book signing because we were talking about some projects that she was working on. And if you ever get the opportunity to meet her in person and really sit down and talk to her, she is a fabulous woman. Just be able to talk to her, the wisdom that she carries and the insight that she has. Because, today, and I say this quite often, the traditional church has ceased to exist.
Oh yeah.
And so what we're dealing with now is the church of our adult life and what that looks like. And different people need different things. Everything doesn't work for everybody, but different people need different things. And sometimes it's those connections that you make with other people that introduce you to things that you really never thought about, but kind of piques your interest and then kind of moves you in a direction you never thought that you were going to go in. Because at the same time Jen was writing her book, I was writing my second book.
Yeah.
And it was an opportunity for us to get to meet. And so I really appreciate the opportunity and the people that I met that day. I still have my pen, the clothespin, that pen thing.
I got mine too. Yes.
Good.
I said, I'm gonna have to look man up so I can go to the
The
chiropractor.
chiropractor,
Yes,
yes.
Some work done, because I still have my pen.
That's so good.
I called us together tonight because I wanted just to be laid back. God has been really dealing with me on the platform and the utilization of the platform that I have. And so at least once a month, I'll be doing these type of shows, these type of live shows where it's just some girl talk. I am trying to really hear God in what it is that he wants to do with the platform and the direction that we're going to go in. So I want to start off. So, we're in the midst of this COVID-19 virus stuff.
Yes.
Jobs are shutting down. People are losing their jobs. I have been blessed that my job has sent me home to work full time until we go back into the office. I had shared with Jen that my oldest sister her job informed them on Saturday that they were shutting down indefinitely. There is a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And for me, this is my first pandemic of any kind in my lifetime. Now, when I was talking to my mom, she was like, in the 60s, either when I was real, real little or before I was born, they had the smallpox.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last one that had hit. So how are you ladies navigating? And I know, Jen, you have your son there with you. I'm home alone, thank God. But how are you navigating with the working from home, having David, right?
Yep,
right there with you, and still being able to do all the things that you need to do to keep home together, to keep marriage together, and be the working mom that you are.
Yeah. So, I think the overarching theme of both my husband and I is that at least we still have our jobs. And so we have been so thankful that the idea of having him at home, while it's tiring, I just remind myself, you know what? I could be somebody who just doesn't have work anymore. I could be in a position that, my husband's out of a job, but I'm so thankful that we're still working, that the adjustment, it's just tiring, just during the day. And I just have to remind myself constantly, you know what, take a moment and be with him. Take a moment here and just do what you need to do. It's okay to just take a moment. But, my husband and I feel like we've had a different perspective through this. We said, we were at the mall. We were actually picking up my parents from the airport a couple weeks ago when everything really got started. And we stopped at a mall and we saw everything on sale. And we were like, everything's about to get cheap. Everything is about to get real cheap. And so our mindset shifted at that moment. And we were like, we're going to use this as an opportunity. And so both of us have really just been digging in and really focused on making all the money that we can and really getting some things that we wanted to take care of credit wise and, setting things up so that when this thing lifts and everything it's my market to buy, we're ready. As far as how it's been doing us at home, this is going to sound really, really funny. We are one of those people who are like, let's have one of those COVID babies in 9 months. So we're like, yes, let's be those people. So as far as how it has affected us at home and how we're handling it, we're working together probably better than we have in a long time. And we're both on the same page as far as what we want. And I'm dealing with this. And when he comes home, when my husband gets home, if I need it, he'll take David and go outside or something and just give me a moment, So it is a new, and I don't want to say it's a new normal, but it might be, and we're realizing that maybe later that this is going to be, this might be something that doesn't end as quickly as we'd all like it to. And even if it does, you know, things are gonna get better maybe for a little while, but at the end of the day, we know where things are headed. So this may be a really new normal. So, you know, we're making the best of it, and I don't know. I'm happy. I'm happy, and so I don't know. I don't know how everybody else is doing, but I am like, I'm happy. I'm getting it as much as I want it, and I'm making money, and I'm going to move in 6 months. So I'm happy.
I understand. So, Salome and Marcia, how are you navigating through this season that we find ourselves in, where we are at home and we don't have the freedoms? Because anybody who knows me knows I'm never at home. And so this here has caused me to really make home my base, and to be, girl, I'm even cooking every day.
Hey. Me
Now
too.
that's saying a whole lot, because sister will pick something up in a minute.
Well, I will say this. This whole situation has hit me a little bit different. I've been by myself now for a couple of years. I'm an empty nester. My children are grown. So it hit a little bit different with me. When they sent me home, I had been dreaming about this for over a year now, not knowing exactly what was coming. I had been dreaming, and I had 3 dreams about me carrying my box home, because I do work a regular 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And so I kept seeing that coming. And my spirit was a little, disturbed, because I felt something coming. I'm not trying to be all spooky like I'm somebody special, but I'm just giving you the reality of what's happened. So I was a little shook. Like, I knew that because of the nature of my job, that it would not be long before they laid us off, and I was laid off on Friday. So I kind of knew the nature of the job. But my concern was really not the provisionary, because I have a lot of loving family surrounding me. So worst case scenario, I'm not going to be without. But where it started to really affect me in my emotions and in my nerves is that I have a daughter that is 4 weeks away from having a baby. And she will be delivering a baby in the midst of crisis. I was laid off on Friday, and and of course that brings about a lot of level of uncertainty. Now, because I'm a sower and because I'm constantly giving, and you really can't be God-given, because he constantly let me know beforehand, I got you, don't worry about it. But then yesterday it really hit me hard, because what had been feared for close to 5 days came to fruition when my best friend was diagnosed with the virus. So, and knowing that somebody that you love is sick and there's absolutely nothing you can do, and you are rendered helpless, then it does not say that you don't trust God, but we have to be in very real with the whole idea of faith. Some people, I believe she's going to come to full healing. I don't believe that it's going to be a bad outcome. It was given to me, confirmation in my spirit, but there are a lot of people that are not. So, and then just the way that I know she's suffering, and she can barely talk for not having enough air in her lungs to breathe. And as I was speaking with a friend today over the phone, she had just got word that her half-brother's mom had just passed from the virus. So it's the reality of how serious this thing is just blaring at this point. And at this point, it's like, okay, you can choose to freak out in this moment, but I chose to spend more time on my face in prayer, spend more time extending myself to people in prayer, reaching out to my senior citizens and offering them grocery store runs because they really don't need to be outside. Trying to convince my daughter to stop working. That was like pulling teeth, and she finally stopped working. But now all of these things are real, and it's not necessarily provision I'm worried about. Is the reality is that we're not prepared mentally for what's to come. Like, we're not prepared. And when I say we, I mean we as a whole, the body of Christ. And I think sometimes we have a real milk and cookies faith. Just be good and you're gonna get it. No, that's not the reality of the world. So without going too deep and without being I don't want to be a drag, but the reality is that every day is a serious day over here. The reality is every time I go to the store, I'm buying dry goods because I don't know how long the store is gonna have food, and I'm not taking food for granted anymore. I don't even eat but one time a day, and not that I don't like to eat, but I'm not gonna cook everything up, and I don't know if a truck is gonna be able to come in here in a couple of weeks. I'm working out more, doing more weight training, getting outside and doing more walking because my body needs to be fit. And my question is do we even know how to live off the land? Because we're so spoiled with comfort and just the provisions of this life that we've lived, that I don't think that we're mentally, spiritually, emotionally, in any way equipped for what's to come. I don't.
I can agree with you in that regard because on my timeline, I'm friends with different people all over the place. And I've noticed a trend with some of my single sisters is that they are struggling emotionally and mentally with this whole virus thing. Because we didn't see it coming. And
right.
A lot of times people have a hard time understanding that if I didn't plan for it, I'm terrified of what it's going to look like. And so it begins to do its emotional and its mental damage in the midst of who we are and what it is that God is really calling us to do. And so one of the things that God had spoken into my spirit is that regardless of what happens, regardless of what goes down, regardless of what it looks like, he still sits on the throne and he's still providing for each and every one of us. So whatever his will is for our lives during this season, it's going to play itself out. And it does. You cannot have the milk and cookies faith to be able to walk through this thing. You've got to stand on your faith. And
you have to.
I have a brother who has a very rare form of cancer. And he's been going through the emotional struggle with this cancer. And so I had talked to Marcia and I had her fix me some one-course meals that he could keep refrigerated or frozen and be able to eat off of it when he had chemo, or because chemo hits you, you have chemo 1 week and it takes you 3 weeks to get over it.
Right.
And so one of the things that I was looking at was preparation. And I think that's what God is really trying to teach us in the midst of this preparation. Be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically prepared. Because tomorrow's not promised to any of us. And we've got to put ourselves out there because let's face it, those of us that are of faith, we got people watching us for real.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
For real.
They're paying attention. They're paying attention.
Because they want to know if we're living up to our faith level that we talk about.
Well, not only that, I think and when I say prepared, I think what it is that steps, you know what I'm saying? And it's the conversations that I've been having with my children is, and because we've been awakened by the situation, what are we waking up to? What is the reality of what are we waking up to? The reality is, do we have the wherewithal to find our own resources
Yeah.
if outside resources was cut off. Do we even know in the Midwest, in Indiana, what vegetation is available to? And I know it sounds a little extreme, but I mean, looking at the way people are hoarding food and buying up food,
It's
like
crazy.
overbuying, it's like, I remember being around my elders and watching them grow collard greens and
Yes.
tomatoes and
My
things.
parents, yeah.
And understanding that collard greens is a great source of protein.
Mhm.
And like some vegetables might not fill you up, but that vegetable fill you up. But I'm gonna go even a step further. The virus feeds off of mucus. So I had my daughter Google the foods that hold the most mucus, and I said, stay away from that. And I'm not saying that you're not going to have it completely, but I bet you I won't be drinking milk anytime soon, any kind of milk. But I don't drink milk anyway. But the point that I'm trying to make is that we're not going to be perfect. This is not a perfect science. We're not going to have it all figured out. But I'm not trying to rush the process of any type of demise or illness.
Yep.
So Marsha, how are you dealing with this COVID-19?
Happy. I have grandkids I can't get to. I have kids I can't get to, but I don't have a man, but I have a roommate, and we just keep busy. So here's some of my mask I made.
Oh, that's cute.
That's a little kid's one. And this is hers. So I'm sewing, I'm still baking,
That's good. I like that name.
crocheting. I'm gonna plant my little seeds going for my vegetable garden. I'm gonna do container garden. So I have stuff to keep me busy. Plus I'm reading and studying my Bible. So
Yeah.
I think that's important. I have had the opportunity to be a part of a morning Bible study, 3 mornings a week, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And it has, for me, you know, if you are a gifted teacher, when you are put in position where you get excited once again about studying the word and participating in a Bible study type atmosphere, to me, it awakens that thing in us that makes us even more reliant on the God of our salvation.
Yeah.
And then my family does a weekly prayer call. Every Tuesday night, we do a weekly prayer call to pray. Now, at the beginning of this, my mother had to have a cancerous mole removed from the inside of her ear. So I was literally in Illinois when they gave the stay home order.
Oh, wow.
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 Literally in Illinois. And so it is what it's forced me to do is to check up on my family more, be more conscious about making that phone call, because Marsha tell you I'm not very good with making the phone calls at all. I'll admit it. But my daughter calls me every day to check on me, to make sure everything's okay. But I'm looking at this, and even though I want to bring this up. I don't know if you saw a video that was on Facebook. It was a nurse. I don't know where she was from. Somebody had it on their timeline, and it showed up on mine. It was a nurse who was asking people to take the virus serious.
Yeah.
Because she was saying that there are people that are in the hospital that are dying from this disease, and they're dying alone. Because your family can't come and surround you.
Yeah.
You know, they do good. They really can't talk to you on the phone because they're fearful that there will be residue left on the phone that will reinfect, because you can be reinfected by the virus. And so she was telling people to please take it seriously, and then love on the people that you have in your life now. Love on them.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what tomorrow is going to look like and what anybody is going to be dealing with in regards to it. And so that just leads me off into relationships. Now, Jen, of the 4 of us, you're the only one that's married. that's on the show today. So
Yeah.
I know that I am not actively in a relationship, but relationship wise, even with family, with friends, how does that look for you guys right now? What is that looking like? I know, Marsha, you had said that you've got kids that you can't get to and grandkids that you can't get to, but what has it done relationship wise for your concern with everyone that you have relationship with, not just family, but friends? I know that the church is not open for the bishop is still having his services streamed.
Yeah.
So how's that looking for you, Marsha?
I hate that I can't hug my grandkids nor my kids. I do talk to them. I talked to my daughter and my grandson in Texas last night. We stay in close contact with each other. Same thing with a lot of my girlfriends, because I'm not dating anyone. There's no special person. So, but same thing with my girlfriends. I just stay in contact with them. Just talking and texting.
Yeah, I'm not real big on the texting thing either.
No, you're not. You're not.
I don't believe in texting relationships. I have a hard time with
A lot of people that way.
because I'm like, the amount of time it takes you to text me, you should have picked up the phone.
I agree.
Before that was over with. Okay, so for you, Salome, how does that look for you, relationship wise?
You know, fortunately, in this time of my singleness, I have, in the past couple of years, developed very strong friendships, you know, around me. Not a lot, but the ones that I have are very strong. And of course, I have my children. And I don't have a significant other at this time. But I thank God that I understand the importance of love the way that I understand it, because real love, agape love, that you receive from friends that are in your close circle and have the same foundation spiritually that you have, has been proven more significant to me than the marriages I've been in. And that is sad, but it's true. So when it came to, when I got laid off and I let my good friends know that what was going on, the support that I was offered, I wasn't looking for money. I'm cool for a couple of months. But the support that I was offered almost immediately, you know, and it kind of solidifies that we could be okay in our singleness, you know, and still feel a lot of love and a lot of support and not feel alone, but also enjoy this time alone and the peace in my house where I can truly worship God without interruption.
Yeah.
So it's been an amazing experience. But even the conversations that I've had with my friends and just us being more bare and vulnerable with each other about, you know, our real feelings and what we really go through, and just uncovering that we all have a lot in common. So during this time, so it's been a very good learning experience.
Okay, so as we're talking about relationships, hold on, Jen Ray. I want to say this right quick, because there is a theme that seems to be going across the board, and I'm gonna let Jen Ray say what she wants to say, but I want us to come back and I want us to really talk about the self-esteem part, the self-value part, the self-love part that plays into what we're dealing with right now. Go ahead, Jen.
So, you know, I love hearing it. Sometimes it seems like differences, but a lot of times it's not. Being married is different, like your position is different, but the stuff isn't different. You know, just if I were to go back, if this would have happened 6 months ago, I probably would have been having in a intense crisis. This would have been an intense crisis for me, because even when you're married, if it ain't right, you still, you still in trouble. So
I agree.
So like right now, today, I think part of what plays into me being able to say, okay, I am happy in this place is because 6 months ago, having to do this, having to know that when my husband comes home, he can't just leave or not come home for a long time until after I'm in the bed or after. If it had been 6 months ago, it wouldn't be the same story because it was tragic. So I totally agree. Like I miss other people. My husband is here and we're having a good time. But when I think about the people that I spend time with at church, the people that I would, just talk to or go to their house, those things are the same. So I'm in total agreement with Salome about those other relationships and how much they really play a part in where you are and how important they really are, even outside of your spouse. And then your relationship with God, even more so than any of them, because the work, I think it's if I had to just say, like, in these kinds of situations, if the relationship you are in, if the marriage you are in, if it ain't right, it'd be better. It'd be better just to be single. Like 6 months ago, I would have been wishing, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Jen? Let me just say this
to Jen. I wish I wasn't married.
Let me say this to Jen. Jen, when it comes down to when I was married before in both marriages, I allowed friendships to kind of there were a lot of things undeveloped because I didn't have the balance. I didn't have a healthy balance in my life. So let me preface by saying that my gratitude towards friendship now in the season that I'm in the singleness is because that in this time I'm being able to learn how to value and develop those relationships so that when I marry again, that I keep that healthy balance.
Yes, because you need it. Like you. Yeah. Oh God, you need it, Jesus.
Right. So yes, I get it, and I don't knock. I know that it's beautiful, but it's work. So I appreciate.
It's like, it's beautiful hell. I mean, it really, it's like.
I like that, Jen.
That's a book.
I tell people all the time. People are, especially my single friends. I'm like, you guys, please understand that love is just death in marriage. Like it's really just over and over and over every single day for the same person. All the time. That's all it really is. And so if you're not willing to die, then it really is the most horrible place you could be in.
You know what?
If you're not willing to die,
I like the way you put that, Jen. Though
that's a good one
because it really is. You
Yeah.
have to be willing in the same way that we have to be willing to die to Christ daily. The Word of God tells us that we are to love our husband. Same way that He loves the church, in the same way the husband is supposed to love the wife, in the same way that Christ loves the church. So we have to be willing to make that sacrifice. Now I'm getting ready to call out Marsha. Where's the other Marsha? Where's the other Marsha? I know she's right next to me.
She's back there in the kitchen. She's rubbing some tea.
I thought I heard her at one point. Yeah, but I think too, relationship wise, that love that we have for another individual. I recently did a Bible study on the scripture that says that we are to love Christ and then that we are to love our neighbor as ourselves. And the focus that God gave me was on the part that says that we're to love our neighbor as ourselves. So I want to jump into that love for ourselves. So each one of us are at different phases in our lives, in our walk with Christ, and what that looks like. So what does loving yourself look like? What does that look like? Because I know from hearing each of our stories that we didn't wake up one morning and boom, there it was.
Right. Right.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Listen, wait, just listen, because I just have to get this out, okay? I gotta get it out. Y'all, when I tell you that loving myself right now, the biggest thing that loving myself looks like right now is deciding that nobody will kill me. Because people, relationships,
Wow.
husbands will take you through to the point, well, you will let yourself go. You will let yourself go. You will become unhealthy. The reason that God told me to stop doing what I was doing and to take a break is because I had let the things that were going on in my marriage take me to such a place where I started having mini strokes. I am not 40. So I'm having mini strokes. My hair's falling out. My teeth were falling out. Everything was going crazy in my body because of stress and unforgiveness, because of the crap that was going on at home.
Wow.
And do you understand me? After a while, God said, just stop, Jennifer. Just stop. Just stop it, because you got to get you in order. And the first thing he said to me is, Jennifer, you can't let anybody kill you. You're going to die one day, but don't let it be because you were so stressed out and you were so bitter and angry that you could not put down the food that you were eating and you could not take care of yourself. Don't die because you couldn't control what you put in your mouth and what you did with your body because your emotions are out of control. So loving me today looks like, okay, it's really not this deep. And whatever you do, if you act dumb, I'm gonna be happy because it's okay, because God is good and it's gonna be all right. And taking care of and self-valuing me today means, you know what, there are certain things I'm just not gonna put in my mouth because I'm not gonna die from that. There are and in this season, I hear so many people. I've seen a couple posts about people killing themselves because they're afraid of this virus. They're fearful, they're stressed out. So people are gaining weight. People are doing all these things because of fear and stress and having to be cooped up with people that you really have not determined that you are going to have real connection with. Usually in marriage.
That's huge.
And it ain't gonna be me. So it ain't gonna be me. And do you understand?
That sounds like a declaration.
That was a whole declaration.
And I'm telling you the
life.
freedom. And after deciding that, and just deciding, you know what? No, I'm not dying. I'm not dying. You're not going to kill me. And I told my husband, I said, you know what? I am not going to let you kill me. And do you understand that after that started us on a path to better? And
Amen.
Because you know, when you start dealing with yourself better and you start dealing with yourself the way that God has told you to deal, other people have to get in line and things have to start getting in line. And so all the fear has had to start just dissipating, and all of the anger and the unforgiveness and all of that stuff. And so now, I mean, these are the reasons I am happy.
We're gonna have a party when we get out of this. Girl party.
I'm living. My husband and I are loving. We don't have a lot in common. So this time 6 months ago would have been trash. We don't have things that we just automatically like together. We've had to carve out and create those things.
Wow, that's a message in itself.
We had to decide that we were going to be okay to really develop connection in our marriage. And so
Jen, that's a preach. That's a preach, Jen. That's a preach right there.
That was a preach, Jen.
We had to stay. You know, 6 months ago we were going to get divorced, and we had to decide, no, we're going to stay here and we're going to dig our heels in and develop some real connection with each other. And we've been doing that. And so my God, that all of that is taking care of me and deciding that I'm valuable enough, I'm worth it enough.
Yes.
I am who God says I am. And so my marriage has to be what
It
God
has to
says
be.
it has to be. So
Okay, Jen, I'm gonna jump in here.
yes.
Right there. I'm gonna jump in here because I'm a firm believer that out of pain, purpose is birth.
Oh, yes.
And I'm
Amen.
a firm believer of that.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times, I want to say this first before I say my next thought. I asked my mother, what was it that kept her and my dad together for over 20 years?
Yeah.
As they were married until he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And she said this, because they both refused to leave.
Yep. That's it.
Hey.
That's all.
That's it.
Said
That's
it
all.
wasn't deep. Said it wasn't a secret. She
Nope.
said they just decided that neither one of them were going to leave.
That's it.
Since they were not going to leave, they decided to make the thing work.
That's it.
And
That's
you
it.
need two
That's been
participating
it.
parties for that. It
Yes,
can't
you
just be
do.
one person. And because
You're right.
I had the same idea about my second marriage. I'm like, we ain't breaking up. And he said, nope, I want to break up. So you need,
Yeah,
you gotta have two deciding parties in there, but
Yeah.
Think about it. Marsha, I want you to think about it for a second. How important is how you see yourself now with the journey that you're on? How important is that self-care, that self-love, that self-valuation? How important is that for you?
Now more than anything, it's very important to me. And I'm glad that I'm at the point that I am now. I don't need a relationship to signify who I am. I am who I am, and I'm at peace being by myself. I don't need that male on my arm or me on his arm. I'm good how I am. I can entertain myself. I've always said I can take myself on my own date. I'm my best date. But I'm very good where I'm at right now. I'm very at peace. No stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't got to worry about washing nobody's clothes, cooking nobody's meal. Here's
Y'all
somebody
are
snoring.
ministering to me.
It's just me.
Listen. Yes.
Yeah, I've been there. That's why I'm where I'm at
happy
now.
for you. I'm happy.
But yeah,
for
I'm very happy
you.
with my life at this point.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us sometimes fail to realize that nobody can make us happy.
Mm-mm.
Nobody can make us
no,
happy.
that's good. That's
And
a good
nobody
one.
can take our happiness from us.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'm not happy. I have joy.
Yep.
And Kirk Franklin said something in one of his interviews that he did, and he also did it on one of the albums that he has out. And he says, I'm not happy because that means that I'm always waiting on something to happen. He said that is going to identify whether I'm happy or not. He said, but I've got joy. And God gave me this joy. And it's joy that man cannot take away. And I think a lot of times we do. I'm single as well. But the thing of it is that my journey into my singleness after my divorce was difficult because I expected him to fix me in that marriage. Everything that was wrong with me, I expected him to fix me in that marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And when it didn't work, it became an anthem in which I lived my life by for a while, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't worthy enough, that I didn't have what it took. And it wasn't until I started doing my own personal self-work that I began to realize that I was looking for something in him and putting an undue expectation upon him that he would never
Yep.
Yeah.
to do. And so I had to begin to do my own personal self-work to get me to a place to where Michelle was loving Michelle. And I wasn't expecting a man to make me feel complete or just have a man to make me feel as if I'm worthy, or to allow, as Marsha said, me be on his arm or he on my arm and be able to say, well, I'm in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, a lot of women that are my age are in relationships just for the simple fact that they feel like they cannot live without a man.
And it ain't you have to look at the intent, God's intent for a relationship.
Yes.
You know, and without giving too much of my book, one of the things that I at my own self-admissions is that in both of my marriages, the Lord had to show me to stop looking for a savior. And,
Yes.
and I know it's not a popular thing to say that I was looking for a savior, but the things that I was looking to attain in both of my marriages, the validation, the refuge, rest, direction, and all the things that I wanted, that I was looking for in a marriage that came to me individually at different times. But I was looking for that in man, but man can't be my refuge or my rest. In fact, the whole ideal and original intent for a woman was to be a partner, to be a helpmate.
That's right.
And if you think about help, you know, and I say this often, if you think about help and what help means, if I come get you to help me, then I need you to already be insured in all of those things. And I need you to have, if not the same amount of strength, I need more strength.
That's it.
So when you come into a relationship, because ill-prepared, a lot of that stems from the fact that we have the improper models in place because our parents are not taught these things. You have dated back generational curses. So half of us that don't even want to be in a relationship anymore, we don't want to be in a relationship anymore because we don't even understand what the point of a relationship is.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it's like, if I can fulfill all the needs that I've been looking for in this man, what do I need a man for? Right. Some of us can fulfill those needs battery operated. I'm just keeping it real.
That's true.
So if I got everything that I need, and as far as what I perceived for what marriage should be, then of course I'm not going to want to be in a relationship anymore. But once I start to tap in to the original intent, and see what God's intent is for marriage, then I can have a different perspective. Now I can look at myself and I can look at what's in front of me.
Okay. And I think that's important. I think that's important because and the crazy thing about that, Salome, is I recently went back and read that scripture. And when I went back and read the scripture, the part of the scripture that came back to me was man should not be alone.
Yep.
Right.
And
why shouldn't he be alone?
Because he needs some help.
He needs some help.
He needs some help. Because he needs help.
Like, they're not right. No, I'm just saying. Accountability.
Yeah, and let's face it. I've got friends in my life that keep me together. They keep me accountable. I am, and anybody who knows me knows that I keep myself busy by choice. Because I know what the mandate God has on my life. So I am busy by choice. And so now I'm gonna share this with y'all, and I want y'all to give me your honest take on this. I had someone tell me that I intimidated them.
Yeah.
And so my question was, how do I intimidate them?
Because they ain't got nothing going on.
Right.
Because they don't know the original intent either. Because anybody who knows that you are supposed to be there to help them is not intimidated by what you bring to the table to be a help.
I'm gonna say another thing. A man that is intimidated by a woman does not know his purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
How can you help someone who don't know where they need help?
Yeah.
That's intimidating. Yep. So now you're just a reminder of what they don't know. I'm just gonna keep it.
It's true.
I should have come on in there.
I told her, come on in. He's in the kitchen saying, yeah.
Think, you know, for real, on a very real level, there's not a lot of women that are going to sit down and have the type of conversation that we're having right now. They're just not going to do it.
Unfortunately. Unfortunately, because it's so necessary.
It is so necessary.
I think
these are the conversations that I've been having with dealing with singleness, because that's my talk. And I started my interviews with men, because it's easy for us to sit down and have these conversations. And hopefully my next interview is going to be with a female, because I got men lined up ready to talk. Yeah. And the two that I started with, I mean, they had some very strong views. Of course, they were men of God and had a little bit, they were more purpose minded, you know, but we have to own up to our own stuff. And owning up to our own stuff is that we're not really concerned either with God's intent. We're concerned with, like what you said, Michelle, just having a warm body or a boo or somebody that I can call around and say, I got a man, as if that's validation. But woman, if you know who you are, you ain't got to date around. I refuse. I mean, guys come on to me and they want to date me. And I always tell them, you really don't know what you're getting yourself into.
Hey.
But they think they want to date me, and I get approached a lot, you know, but I'm not interested. And the reason why I'm not interested in having those sad conversations is because I understand, first of all, I know who I am. But I also understand that the man that is for me will recognize the help that I am for him.
There you go.
Oh, she said it.
So we ain't even got to talk. We ain't got to date. We ain't got to do nothing. He'll know. He'll know.
You know, and the challenge that we sometimes face, and this is the thing sometimes that trips people up. Because I don't share my testimony often, because there's a whole lot to Michelle. There's just a whole lot to Michelle. Tell her to be quiet. But one of the things that really sometimes seems to be the kicker, and I don't even lead with this, but somehow in the span of time, they find out that I'm a minister. So it's kind of like, oh, well, I can't deal with her. She a minister. Well, you done already set yourself up for failure, because you don't know what it is that you really want if you can't deal with me, and you can only deal with an aspect of who I am. That's a role that I have. That's not indicative of the totality of who Michelle is. And I have run into that so much that sometimes I have to sit back and I have to think about, okay, why are you so caught up on my roles and not in getting to know who I am, getting to know who Michelle is? Because yes, I have a lot of titles behind my name, but I don't live my life by my titles. I live my life by my faith, by the love that I have for myself and the people that God has sent into my life, and by the hopes and dreams that I had. Now, trust me, now I'm a toot my own horn, because I am a good helpmate. And the thing of it is like you said, Salome, you don't know what it is that you need help with because you're not purpose-minded.
Right. And I'm gonna tell you something. You have to begin. Now, well, you don't have to, but this is what I began to do. I began to lead with the anointing that's on my life, because here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to get it twisted.
I don't want you to waste my time.
And I'm not even going to go around the block with that. You're not even that cute to stand. And we can't have a spiritually aligned conversation. You already done been the ex-cow, so we can't even have that spiritually, because if you think like that, if you think, oh man, she's a minister, and automatically lead with that thought, I want to know, because I want you to keep it running. Because the thing about it is, and this is what I love that I've learned even more about myself in this season, is that my attraction, the way that I am attracted to a man personally, does begin physical, but what do they call it? Sapiosexual. I need your conversation to
Ain't that it?
I need you to know that word. You know, so you want to turn me off? That's how it's gonna happen. I need you to know my father, and I need to have that. Otherwise, I mean, you probably the same way, Michelle, is that I'm turned off if I don't see that. I'm like, I don't even want to talk no more. And I'm not a holy roller. I mean, you know me enough to know that I'm not a holy roller. I can laugh, shuck, and jive with the best of them. I'm from the hood. You know, I can go there with you. But at the end of the day, I love God. That is my father. I want to develop more and more in him and keep going to those levels. So I'm not even interested in even entertaining anything that's gonna take me off course. So my thing is let them leave. Let them leave with that bull crap. Let them tell you that, oh, I'm intimidated. Thanks for warning me. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want them like I've had, and I hate to say this, you know, because me and my ex, we get along, but my second husband, he thought he wanted that life. He thought he would, when we married in, he knew what it was about. He thought he wanted that life. And he got in and things started to transpire. We were leading and he decided, I don't want this life. This is work. This is hard. This is
yes, it is hard work.
Now, wait. Now now I'm gonna come in for the men. Okay, because I'm gonna come in on a different angle here. Okay. Because, and the reason I'm gonna say this is because we don't think the same. Men and women, we simply don't think the same. Agree. And if we are gonna say that we are supposed to be their helpers, then we have to also think about what that means in the sense of helping them to even understand what help is.
But Jen, they gotta stay around long enough for you to
well, sometimes, hold on. Sometimes the reason they don't stay around long enough, it's not always that they don't want what we have to offer. It's not always that they can't handle what we have to offer. It's not always that what we have to it's not always that. Sometimes it is simply that, you know, we come with our set of issues, so do they. Exactly. And we can't sit here and say, okay, well, they have to be able to see what I have to offer, knowing that we got issues, but we're not able to say, okay, now, if this man, and we should know this, men typically and I know we all think if he wants us, he will pursue us. Okay, but let me just say this. Most men don't go after things that they don't know they can get.
That's true.
They now, just don't.
True.
So I agree with you on that.
So they may not come on that strong. That whole thing about if he wants you, he'll pursue you no matter what, that's a lie. Yeah, and we put these expectations on men. No, the truth is, if you act like you don't want a man ain't coming to want you because you act like you don't want him. And because they're going to respect how you behave. Yeah. They're gonna respect that. Okay, she act like she don't want nobody. She act like she is doing. She act like she fine where she is. Well, let her be, because I'm gonna respect her wishes.
Right.
So we have to say to ourselves, okay, if we're gonna help, I'm not saying that you throw yourself, but if we're gonna help, if we're gonna be helpers, then be helpers. Okay, so if there's a man who seems that he is interested or whatever, sometimes some of these men just need you to say, you know what? It's okay if we talk longer. I understand I'm a minister, but that's okay. I still have a lot else going for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just that simple to just tell them, you know, it's not all what you may think it is. You might have a misconception. And maybe they just do. And maybe just those words, they might say, oh, okay, well, let's keep talking. Because there are perceptions of women who are in high positions. That is a valid perception.
But you know what? Let me just say this, Jen, and I agree. I agree that you have to allow them to court you or want you or come at you. I get that, and I because I've been in those positions. Mm-hmm. But I have also been in a position where the minute you mention you're not even church affiliation as far as leadership role, but your faithfulness.
Oh, yeah, you got to let them go. Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
that's a whole different deal.
That's all I'm saying. When they coming like that, but
yeah, then they crazy.
Then they crazy. But I do agree that we need to show ourselves friendly. And that's something that I had to change because I realized that I wore a fence. I wore a fence around me
for a long time.
so
I had that fence around me that
like
don't touch.
they
Don't
look, you
touch.
can look, but don't touch. Admire
That's it.
from a distance. I get that. I
Yeah.
get that. And also to be fair and then just to have a conversation because I am quick to tell people friends, guys, whoever's trying to whatever, I let them know I'm not a holy roller. You know, I can tell you I'll tell you my sins. I'll tell you some of the struggles that I still have because I'm not trying to be that in that position. And Jen, I really do appreciate the fact that you stepped in and took up for men because what I've learned in interviewing men recently is that they have a valid perspective too when it comes down to the dating game. And they got a lot of struggles, especially some of the good guys. They have a lot of struggles because they come through the door suffering the backlash of somebody who did something.
That's right. And
that
they
wasn't
got
I was
feelings.
ready to say that, Salome. I was
Yeah.
ready to say that very same thing because I've got a good friend of mine. He is a gentleman among gentlemen and has a big heart. But the girl, the last relationship, he did a number on him.
Yep.
And now he is relationship scared.
Yeah.
Because he was being honest, upfront, and truthful, and she was being the opposite.
Yeah.
It destroyed him to the point to where he has made it up in his mind that I'm just going to be by myself until God calls me home, because he doesn't want to have to go through that again, because he admitted to me, almost did not make it out of it.
Yeah.
And that's how bad it was. And I know, I have one brother and I've got two sisters, and I'm really close to my brother. But one of the things that when I was raising my sons, my brother said to me, and I'll never forget this, and he said, "You are not raising boys, you are raising men." Because eventually they will be somebody's husbands, somebody's baby daddies, and you've got to make sure that their relationship with you is not leaving them damaged.
Right.
Yes.
They cannot be in good, healthy relationships with other women. And I listened to that. And so I went back and I would look at that relationship and what it looks like. And I think a lot of times, and I'm gonna say this, I'm a daddy's girl. My daddy was in my house. He raised me. He loved me. He spoiled me. He did all that. Okay. And he was very real with me. If he saw I was doing something that was not going to benefit me in a relationship, he would tell me about myself. He wouldn't wait, and he would check me immediately on the spot. And I think too that because of hurt, because we know hurt people hurt people.
Right.
And I think this generation that is of women that are being raised without male influence, that do not have effective and healthy relationships with their fathers, is hindering them from understanding what a healthy relationship with a man looks like, especially when God is not in the equation that makes up their lives.
Yeah.
And I sometimes sit back and I wonder, even with my own daughter, if her dad would have played a better role, more of a major role in her life growing up, how would that have looked in her relationship with men? How would that even look in her relationship with herself?
Yep.
Because our daughters really get their worth and their value not from their mothers, from their fathers. And I think on a for real tip, it's a conversation that we are not having, but we want to point the finger.
Yep.
We want to say, well, you didn't take care of your kids. Well, I probably would have took care of my kids if you would have made me feel like it was okay for me to come around.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you would have stopped tearing me down in front of the kids and telling them about all the negatives that make up who I am.
Right.
There are different things that we can do.
Yep.
To make sure that the door is open. Now, if they never come through the door to build the relationship, that's on them. But if it's our responsibility as mothers to make sure that we leave the door open.
Yeah.
So that they will have that relationship, whether they have it as they're growing up or older. Yep. And when my kids got to the age to be able to see for themselves their father, I didn't have to say nothing. I didn't have to judge them. I didn't have to make a comment about them. I didn't have to do anything because it was right there in front of them and they made their own choice.
Yeah.
I just made sure that the door was left open because my desire for them was for them to have the type of relationship with their dad that I had with mine. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes we get caught up in our own hurt and our children are the recipients of that hurt, and they then thereby take it into their relationships. Okay, so let's switch up a little bit. Okay, so, but Jen, I know that you're now working full-time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing the full-time mom and wife and job and all of that. But what I know you got something coming up with all that you said on the show today. I know you got something coming down the pipe, right?
Well,
say it.
well, you know what? I don't. But again, this right here, this is just a beginning of God opening that door back up. So right. I don't know what's coming. I almost told Salome, I was like, okay, now when you get that book done, like we need to trade books because of those two different perspectives. We need to trade books and look and see where these two coincide. And then, then when you're talking about the conversations that we as women are not having and those that we need to be having, all of those things spark stuff on the inside because there's so much wisdom that happens when you get ladies together who are willing to A, be open and honest, and B, who are also willing to see multiple perspectives.
Yeah. I got your book, Jen.
I know you do, but I don't have your new one yet. So I gotta get yours when you finish it. But we've gotta, this is firing up the passion that's on the inside of me. I hate to see single women have false perceptions of marriage and have false perceptions of men. I hate those false perceptions. I hate the perceptions I see on Facebook so many times. I'm like, oh, real man will do this, and this. Girl, boo. You don't know what a real man will do because you're not a man. Like, you're not him. So you don't know what they face, but we're hard on ourselves and we're hard on men. And until we come to this place where we say, you know what? I'm okay with me. I'm screwed up myself. I got my own stuff going on that I'm trying to work out with Jesus. I'm screwed up. So I know if I'm screwed up, then so is this man or men in general. They screwed up too. And if we can both just admit, you know what, we all screwed up, then we can just help each other and we can be okay. And we don't have to be all this.
Jen, I thought you was going to say, and we can be screwed up together.
No, together.
You know what? But I mean, we are screwed up together.
We are screwed up together.
We are screwed up together. Yes. We're just in denial. Yes. We're just in denial, and because women are vocal, we're more vocal about it.
Yes.
Men, they're screwed up too, and so it's a whole mess, and I hate it. I just, because God has so much more for relationships. I can't tell you. I just know that God specifically told my husband and myself at separate times when we were broken up that we were supposed to be married. I can't tell you all the reasons why. And if I told you all of the hell that we have experienced in just under 5 years, my God, how much can one girl take in under 5 years? If I told you, we experience stuff that people don't experience in 20, 30 years. And
it speaks to your calling. But see, that speaks to your calling.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And you know, and so it's in me, and I'm seeing as we are working, as we have come together and are working things together, I see it coming out in him into fruition. And so I don't know what's coming.
Yeah. And you know what? Take notes.
Coming.
Take notes, because the thing is that here's what I'm coming to in the realization of God's plan. We don't have to have a foreseen date. And sometimes we so used to having something on the calendar. What you got going? What you got on the calendar? No. Move in God's time, because right now you're nurturing and developing in areas and strengthening yourself in your marriage. And that needs to be fortified before you get on anybody's platform, because we all know that platforms will expose you. You need to take notes, boo-boo. We want to know all about it.
Are you journaling through this experience?
Take notes.
You know what? I've been not so much journaling, but just taking. I am a texter, and so I text myself things, or I write little things down. You know, I'm that person, or I do recordings a lot. But so just keeping track of what's going on, or things that God is saying, and even the journey that God and I have had to go on. Because for a while I was mad at him, because I felt like, God, you punked me.
You brought me this man.
I was looking around like, when is God gonna come out the thing? Like, this is not real. This is not really your marriage. It's punked. I was mad at him, you know? So even that journey is something that I'm taking stock of, and recording and writing those things down. So yeah, something's coming. I don't know when, but it's coming.
Yeah. I can feel it.
We're gonna look forward to it, because it's gonna be good. If it's anything like the other book, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, it will.
Okay, Marsha, what you got coming up? What you got going on besides making masks that I need you to make me one?
Lemon orgasm cake is what Marsha got going on. She got them lemon orgasm cake.
Well, you know,
right. We need tea and cake. When this all over, we're gonna get together for some cake.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. What I have going on, you know, I was doing lunches, but that's at a halt right now. I have an event in May, Mother's Day luncheon, Lord will. But now just making masks in special order. Made caramel popcorn the other day for special order. So,
what's your website?
I have a website.
How do you get how do they get the orders to you?
Facebook, or text me, or call me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michelle has my information. I don't endorse people that are not good, because I don't want anybody ever come back and say, now Michelle.
Right.
I want that cake.
Yeah.
Michelle likes the chicken spaghetti too.
I eat veggie spaghetti, and I don't eat meat, but I have not given up on sugar quite yet.
Okay. Slow walking. Okay.
But I see. I'll request you on Facebook.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I have yet to taste anything. The event that I had in February, she catered it, and it was delicious. Get this, even my grandson was snatching up stuff.
You knew what was good.
So, okay, Salome, what you got coming up?
Well, you know, I am just really trying to perfect this thing with the transparent moments. I really just started out with the basics. I'm learning a little bit about the technology that it's going to take to produce the vision that God has given me for this talk show. You can see my background props. but this is where it all goes down. And just really hearing from the Lord. I'm not quick to put out dates as to when things will graduate to other levels. I go at the pace that is put in front of me. Try not to bite off more than I can chew. I'm working on my upcoming book. Tomorrow will come again, dealing with just processing what we run from once we have been broken by divorce.
Wow.
So, just kind of writing and digging into that. And honestly, I don't even know the date or the time that even that will be finished. But what I learned from writing my prior book is that the time spent, even if it take years, is worth what is put out when you do it in a proper way.
Yes.
So I'm very careful not to rush the process. I'm learning how to enjoy the journey, because there's so many great things that we develop within ourselves when we just take the time and not try to hurry up and be the big success, not trying to hurry up and be the big person on camera and lights on me. Because like I told Jen earlier, we all, and early on in our life, most of us, we wanted that spotlight, we wanted that stage front, we wanted that attention. But what we learned in our latter days is that is the very thing that would expose you. And then when I mean expose you, that's when your weaknesses are exposed in the areas that you're not quite developed. So I am just taking this time to allow God to really fortify the things in me that work and to develop the Salome that He has created me to be, to perform and do the things that He would have me to do as far as in my purpose and on this earth.
That's good.
Okay. I've got a thing that is going to be coming up. I think God kind of moved it back a little bit because of everything that's going on. I'm actually getting ready to do an anthology.
Ooh! Oh.
So we're gonna see how this plays out. The title of it is "And It All Came Tumbling Down."
Oh wow!
I like that. Yeah,
that sounds good.
And
That's
so
good.
the concept behind it is those how we say that we have grown into this next season, but we left that back door open.
Yeah.
Because of uncertainty, because you never know, you might need to go back instead of keep moving forward. So the book is about those backdoor moments. How it literally almost destroyed you.
Yeah.
And what it took for you to close that back door and to keep moving forward.
Amen.
So that's going to be coming up this year. So that's my goal this year. I guess God has kind of given me a thing that I need to write a book a year. So this will be book number 4.
Good.
okay.
So
Look forward to it.
Yeah.
it's God, and I was listening to what you said. I haven't had the experience, Salome, to where God has said, okay, I want you to write this book, and it's taken me a period of time to write it. It has been, I want you to write this book, and I'm like, no, I'm not writing this book. So, we go through that whole journey. And then when I finally say, okay, I'm gonna write the book, and we go to it, the second book I did, Walking on Water in My Stilettos, literally took me 3 weeks to write. It took me longer to edit the book than it took me to write the book.
Yeah.
And so it was that challenge of being able to, and it was at that time that God was like, okay, it's time for you to let it go. Tell your testimony. If people got a problem with your testimony, that's not your problem, that's their problem.
Yep.
And be transparent, because somebody needs to hear what you went through to offer them hope and to give them a platform that they can use to be able to go through what they are going through and successfully get through it. Because let's face it, a lot of the conversations that I had in that book, a lot of what I wrote in that book were about conversations me and my mama never had. And she was the first person that read the book.
Mm.
And when I tell you I was nervous,
Wow,
I was
that's
so
big.
nervous.
Yeah.
But when she got done, she didn't call me and tell me she was done.
Mm.
She wrote me a review on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And totally, completely endorsed my book.
Amen. Ooh.
That's good.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
good.
that, you know, sometimes the things that we think we're looking for is not really what we need. We just need to trust God.
Yeah.
And we need to let the past be the past and keep moving forward. And so I thank you, ladies, for coming on the show today. This has been so much fun. This has exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
Jen, you know you are a character.
Yes,
Well,
you are.
Well, you know.
The same old Jen I met.
But that was the one that told me who to invite and who to come on. And so he knew what the mix needed to look like, and he knew what needed to happen. So thank you so very much for coming on our very first live podcast show.
Yes,
For the
praise
Girlz
the
Talk
Lord.
Real Talk podcast.
Thank you.
And thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And trust me, you'll probably be hearing me again, and I'll be like, okay, it's time for another Girlz Talk.
Good.
To be able to have those conversations. But I want to close out with this. Something somebody said on Facebook that they failed at what they believed God had assigned them to do. And they were really down on themselves. They were really not feeling as if they honored God through their failure. And the scripture that came to mind immediately when she said that was, a good man falls 7 times, and gets back up again.
Yep.
And so I don't care how many mistakes we make in life. I don't care how much trouble that we have found ourselves in, or situations that we have gone through, or even when we should have came out and we didn't come out of a relationship with ourselves or with somebody else, whatever that looks like. It took me back to that concept that the purpose of us falling is that we get back up again.
Yeah.
It's not for us just to lay there and to die, but for us to get back up again. So I'm praying that someone that is going to be listening, or that is listening to the podcast today, will find the strength that no matter what it is that they're dealing with, that they can get back up again. Because somebody else's life question is based upon their purpose. And so I pray that each of you continue to walk out your purpose out loud and in living color, and that you will continue to allow God to use you. So thanks so much again for being on Girlz Talk Real Talk, because when girls talk, just about anything can happen.